Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we have director Eric Appel. Eric, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
I got to tell you, I love the way, you went into directing so amazingly. Improv, all this great sketch comedy, and, you did Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I mean, come on. I mean, how
Yeah.
many great
Some
things
really
can you
fun
do to
shows.
prepare yourself for this?
Yeah. I was lucky enough to start my career doing some internet videos, for Funny or Die back in the day, and so many fun TV shows I got to work on, which is Silicon Valley was great.
Mm.
My first episode of television was The Office, where I was like 30 years old. It was the eighth season of The Office. I could not have been more nervous about stepping onto a set and directing.
I can't even imagine that opportunity. Your agent calls you up and says, "Hey, man, how would you feel about doing this?"
Yeah, it was a lot of it. It was really right place, right time. I was in a meeting. I think Mindy Kaling was supposed to direct the episode, but she had to go on a book tour during the prep week. And I was in a meeting that was not even about The Office. And the meeting was going really great. And they said, "Are you a fan of The Office?" I said, "Yeah." They're like, "What are you doing next week? Would you be available to start prepping an episode to direct it?" And yeah, it was
Uh,
pretty
I mean,
crazy.
I mean that's just a weird thing. You're telling your friends, "Hey, what are you doing this week?" Directing The Office.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't make it over to your party you were having. I'm going to be at Dunder Mifflin.
That's amazing. See, a lot of directors, when back in the '80s and the '90s, they learned off Super 8 cameras and everything else. But with cell phones and everything else, any kid can do this without major technology.
It's crazy. I wish I had the tools that kids have today. I used to make a lot of movies with my friends when I was a kid, but we'd have to hook two VCRs to each other. And, we'd have play what we shot on one tape, hit record on the other. Everything's all janky and edited weird, but we made the best of, what we had.
Oh man, I fully support that. Well, hold on. You got a new movie out,
Yeah.
with Nate Bargatze. And I'm
Yes.
also a stand-up comedian. So I appreciate what you're doing here. It's The Breadwinner, right?
Yes, the breadwinner. Yeah. Yeah. Nate Bargatze, Mandy Moore, a ton of comedian, Will Forte and Kumail Nanjiani and Zach Cherry and Colin Jost. And it's a really, really fun cast.
Now, when you get this opportunity, because you just did this critically acclaimed movie about Weird Al, which was, it's an amazing
Yes.
movie. I can't even tell you how good that movie
Thank
was.
you.
And then you go, okay, we got our next movie in line is we're going to take this stand-up comedian who is ridiculously popular. Nate is a brilliant comedian.
Yeah.
And were you going, okay, it's so hard to translate from stand-up to regular acting. I mean, was that a concern, or were you going, no, I think this guy's got this?
I think I was going, I think this guy's got it. I think there's something about his onstage persona, his very specific cadence. So much of what makes Nate funny is just the very specific way that he says things. And he feels kind of like a little bit of an everyman in his own unique way, but I'm like I think that if I can channel that into a performance, the character that he's playing in the movie is very similar
Yeah.
to the real Nate, so if I could just get him to loosen up and know his lines, he kind of has to be himself.
Oh, yeah.
And the way that he interacts with other people is the way it's a lot of it's based on his stand-up. So it's just trying to figure out how to dramatize some of the bits that he does on stage, and have them work, for this movie.
Now, ridiculously popular. I've seen him in concert. I know how hard it is to travel, be a headline comedian, and travel all over the country. Now, when you put that many talented people on the set, the script kind of is in and kind of out at the same time.
Yeah. When you throw a bunch of comedians in, you get what's on the page first, but there's a lot of ideas flying around. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of improv. We like to keep it loose. It's usually the improv. A lot of stuff. The improv's great on set just for getting everybody loose. You let people play around with the material, but you kind of know at the end of the day, a lot of that's going to get cut. But what it does is it makes letting people improvise in the scene or add on at the end of a scene just gets them more comfortable. And then the parts of the scene that you do end up keeping just feel a little more natural and real because everyone's looser from, bringing their own ideas in and inhabiting the characters a little more.
It's interesting. Anytime you see a blooper video, you see actors like losing their mind, like trying to keep from laughing. I can't imagine this set was much different because there are a lot of funny people on that set.
Yeah, there were. It was a lot of laughs, and we have there's a gag reel at the end of our movie, during the credits. We're also bringing back. It's a real throwback movie, and we're also bringing back the gag reel. So
I think there's so many cool things about that. We deal now with streaming services and competition in movie theaters, and movie theaters have they've taken a beating lately because I don't know if people have come back from COVID as much. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid we might lose our movies.
yeah, you're starting to see it come back. I think the last it was pretty bad for a few years there, but this year in particular has been very exciting. I mean, I've been to so many sold out movies this year, and it seems like it's really picking up. And I hope like there hasn't been a movie like Breadwinner in theaters in quite some time. This sort of all ages family comedy that appeals to like I'm happy bringing my kids to it. I'm happy bringing my parents to it. Like we can truly all watch it together. Like, like one of those old 80s, 90s comedian led
Oh yeah.
movies, that we used to have all the time. And I think hopefully we see like for a while, it felt like it was only superhero movies that were coming. It was like horror movies and
We
superhero movies coming out. And hopefully there's like a new diversity of movies coming to the theater, and big comedies should be one of them. There's nothing more theatrical than sitting in a room with 100 strangers and laughing at something together.
I mean, it's listen, I'm a fan. I write comic books too. I'm a fan of comic book movies, but I think putting them out solely hoping that they're this big blockbuster instead of making it these great movies, I think we got lost a little bit. And I
Yeah.
think we're slowly slowing it up, going, okay, let's just make sure we do the good ones now.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like there it feels like there's a new independent film boom coming back, with like the way Obsession has been performing in theaters in the last couple of weeks has been insane. And yeah, hopefully I just want there's nothing like going to the movie theater, and it would really be the worst thing ever if we lost movie theaters. People need to get off their individual screens and
Yeah.
go back to watching things with other people. It's like a community event.
I go to like four. I take my son. My son's autistic. He's 20, and I take him to the movie every Tuesday night, and we see about 48 movies a year. And there's the good ones, and then there's hey, we're suffering through something that should have went straight to Apple or something.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know what to do.
Well, hopefully ours is one of the good ones. I mean, I think that I've seen it with a bunch of audiences at this point, with kids and with grandparents and everything, and it plays really well. Like the laughs are there from start to finish. There's a lot of heart. I hopefully people are really going to love it.
Nate has a huge following, so I hope it really pushes because when I say he sells out arenas like basketball courts, I mean
I know.
it's crazy. I went to see him at the Kia Center in Orlando, and I mean he sold out 18,000.
Yeah,
I mean
it's crazy.
I mean his fans are rabid, so let's hope it translates.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If they come out, and I think, but it appeals to we tested this movie for people that didn't know who Nate was, for people that were big Nate fans, and the people who didn't know who Nate was said, "Oh, that guy was great in the movie," and the people that
Right.
were Nate fans said, "This is the perfect movie for
Oh,
Nate." So
I
yeah,
love that. I love that. Now here's what's scary, Eric. This is what happens.
yeah,
God forbid this movie blows up.
right,
Then they go, hey, this director, he's hot. Let's give him this $200 million budget movie.
yeah. Give it to me.
Oh, oh.
I'll
I,
take it.
I, it always scares me sometimes because a lot of great directors who are fantastic they do a smaller movie where it's a 6 to 10 to $50 million budget,
Yeah.
and suddenly they throw them into, let's say, like a Star Wars franchise, where it is there a big difference between directing something, clean, where it's a lot of relationships compared to, let's just say a lot of sci-fi, a lot of action?
I would say like the difference in all those things, the more money a movie costs to make, the more voices there are going to be, the more cooks are going to be in the kitchen, you know? So that's the scary thing. The cool thing about those $200 million movies is you have so much more support, like the amount of artists that you have working on these movies. Um, it seems to be a lot, but you get more days to shoot. But yeah, you sort of trade that for like the Weird Al movie, even the difference between the Breadwinner and the Weird Al movie. The Weird Al movie cost so little to make.
Yeah.
I was completely left alone to do whatever I wanted. But like, studios get involved and on other movies, the higher the budget goes, just the more pressure there is to make sure that it works. With Weird, it was like, I don't know, who knows if this will work, and they just kind of trusted me.
That is the weirdest thing. I mean, when you're going, okay, there's no limits, there's no this. We are going to do whatever we want to do. We're gonna honor this guy who was brilliant. He still is. And how do you get it right when you know there's a real Weird Al?
Well, we wrote it together. So like
Okay.
Al wrote the movie with me, just like Nate collaborated with me, on this. Yeah, Weird Al and I wrote that script together, and he was on set the whole time. And we have very similar. I mean, he sort of helped create my comedic sensibility because I was such a big fan of his when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's almost like making a movie with your dad, you know?
It's that line, about heroes. And
Yeah,
every once in a while, I've been very fortunate. I've only been burned once. Yeah, well, twice.
yeah,
When I met somebody I really loved. But when you got to meet, you were a fan. How do you
yeah.
have that first meet? Do you got to be cool? Or are you like, oh no, we're cool. We're like colleagues.
Yeah, it's really funny. The Weird Al movie started as a fake trailer. It was a fake movie trailer that I made when I worked at Funny or Die years ago. And I had worked with Patton Oswalt. I knew he was friends with Al. And I didn't want to, it felt like the kind of idea that Al would have done himself. So I asked Patton, could you reach out to Weird Al? I know you guys are friends. Tell him I want to do this fake movie trailer thing for the site and just make sure he's cool with it. And within 20 minutes, I get an email from Weird Al. I'm like 28 years old at the time. I get an email from Weird Al and he said, hey, I'm familiar with your work. Patton told me about this idea. I would love to work on it with you. This is just for an internet video.
Wow.
And that evening, I'm like on the phone with my mom on the way to this coffee shop to meet Weird. I'm like, I'm meeting Weird Al Yankovic. It's crazy. And when I showed up, Al is sitting in the back of this coffee shop. He has his laptop open and he already has like every biopic trailer pulled up on his computer. And we just sit down, hey, nice to meet you. And we just start watching biopic trailers and talking through this thing. And it was just a great collaboration from the beginning. And just a bizarre experience, I think.
There, you mentioned your brother, and I got to tell you, it's a very weird thing for me because my mother will say, "What are you doing today?" And I'll say, "Well, I'm interviewing this person." She'll go, "Who are you interviewing?" And it's like a hero of hers. I remember the first
Yeah.
time we dealt with celebrity was when I was having dinner with I was writing comic books and it was like Lou Ferrigno and Gil Gerard. And she goes, "Who you
Yeah.
having?" I said, "I'm having dinner with Lou and Gil." She goes, "Do I know them?" She goes, "You're having dinner with the Hulk and Buck Rogers?" Uh, your brothers don't quite take it the same way that you do. They get kind of fanny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. It's funny. I worked for Funny or Die, which was run at the time by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay,
Yeah.
and I got to go to the Step Brothers premiere and all this stuff. And I'm telling, but it was a very big deal for me getting that job. My salary was like higher than anything I had done
Yep.
before. It was like I was there for a year, and I was pretty young at that. I think I was 27 when I got hired there, and and I called my mom to tell her how just this exciting news and my new job, and all she could think of was oh, did you meet Will Ferrell? Are you going to meet Will Ferrell? And I'm like, Mom, this is like a huge career moment for me. And all you can think is like, am I going to meet
Yeah.
Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
It's very funny, our relationship to celebrities.
It's because it's normal, but now I guess I got to ask a question because you mentioned this. When the money gets bumped and now you're not living off ramen noodles anymore,
Yeah.
do you get paranoid about it? Do you go, okay, I'm not going to blow this money. I'm not going to go get the super car. I'm going to not buy the huge apartment. Or do you go, you know what? I earned this. I'm going to go do this.
I'm it's a little bit of both. I had the job where what blew the money and went through it a decade ago. I did this show on Fox called Son of Zorn, where I was
Yep.
executive producer and directed half the episodes. And I thought the show was going to be such a huge hit that the money was going to keep coming. And so first season of that show, I got paid more than I ever been paid for anything. And I was also like working nonstop.
Yeah.
So I was just like buying things to make myself feel better because I was so underwater and so stressed. And I had the money, and then the show ended, and I'm like, oh, now I
Oof.
just have all this stuff.
Debt.
All this-
Oh
I
God.
had like Dodger season tickets that year with like great seats, and I mean, I was living large. And then I had a couple of kind of scary years, and then COVID happened. I didn't work
Yep.
for the first 2 years of COVID. I didn't have a single job. I had to like, yeah, it was like very financially strained during that. I had to take loans out and stuff just to stay afloat. And then the Weird Al movie came after that, which I was lucky enough to get
Yeah.
made, and now this, and so yeah. Hopefully
It's
it
this.
keeps going. Hopefully there's even more fun stuff ahead.
I think that's the one thing about directing. I think if you're good at it and you're reliable and people like you, there's always a kind of a job, whether it be on a sitcom, a series, because I always see
Yeah.
these great directors seem to be able to keep moving, whether it be like, from Star Jonathan Franks, he guys like that, always have a job. I think if you're dependable.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta make sure you wrap your days on time. You don't go way over budget,
Yeah.
and that you're like generally pleasant to be around, and you have good ideas too. You have to have those good ideas.
One of the last questions I want to drop is this. You're involved in the casting, and we actually deal with a lot of college kids who are trying to get jobs in acting and everything else. And I always try to get them, I go to the professionals like you and say, what an actor's in front of you trying to get that part. What is the best advice you can give them?
I mean, if they're fun, know your lines. I'd say for auditioning, no, try to remember those lines as well as you can, so you're not looking at the paper and you're not, and try to know it enough that you could really inhabit the character and not just be up there saying the lines. But I would say also, really, the most important thing. Let's see, what's a good piece of advice? Every character I've cast is like a version of the person that is playing that role. Like everyone in this movie, like Mandy Moore's character, it feels very similar to Mandy Moore. She's not playing. It's not something. It's still her. Nate is like a version of Nate, and all the kids in this movie, the young kids. Are they good at acting? Yes, but are their personalities the right personalities for these roles? And then it doesn't, sometimes when you're auditioning, you could be a fantastic actor, but sometimes you're just not right for it for reasons that you just can't control because the writers just thought of something else, or you don't, when we put the kids together in this movie, we did big chemistry reads. We brought them all to Atlanta, a group of 6 of them, and we mixed and matched them. And some of it had to do with just like, who do you play best with, or who do you make the most sense standing next to, like height wise, even, So, so just do the best you can, learn your lines, bring yourself to the role, but outside, after that, it's out of your control,
Well,
unfortunately.
well, I can't thank you enough, Eric. I wish the best for this movie. I think it's going to do great. And
Thank you.
congratulations on everything you worked hard for. Hope to see
Thank,
you soon.
yeah, thanks a lot. Great talking to you.